Oh, hey there. It's good to see you, my fellow runners. I was just jamming out some of my favorite workout playlists. Am I yelling? Sorry, I like my music really loud because it gets me really pumped before a run, but it's also just fun to listen to as well. If you missed last week, you might be wondering why
about running. Well, this month we are talking about commitment. And commitment is making a plan and putting it into practice. If you want to run a long race like a 5K, that requires a lot of commitment. The training, the running in the heat, the rain, and the cold, you really have to be committed to see your plan through. Then there are the things that you need to prepare for that you might not think about. Like, what happens if your shoe gets untied? How do you stop to tie your shoe without tripping everyone that's behind you? Or what happens if you slow down to pick up a cup of water at the water station, but you drop the cup when they hand it to you and it spills all over the ground? I'm telling you, that water handoff is way more difficult than you might think it is. Just like listening to a playlist may help on a run, today we're going to talk about hearing from God and how that can help our spiritual life. Wherever Jesus went, crowds of people followed him. And one day, Jesus climbed a mountainside and he sat down to teach his closest friends. Many others followed and listened in as well. And as Jesus spoke that day, he shared all kinds of wisdom about how God wants us to live. He finished with a word picture that helps us understand an important way that we can train and grow stronger in our relationship with God. Jesus said in Matthew 7:24, "Everyone who hears my words and puts them into practice is like a wise man. He builds his house on the rock." Did you catch that? Everyone who hears Jesus' words and puts them into practice is wise. It's like they're building a house on a firm foundation made of solid rock. Jesus also said this, "But everyone who hears my words and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man. He builds his house on sand." Anyone who hears Jesus' words but doesn't put them into practice is not wise. It's like they're building a house on sand. So which do you think is a better idea? Building on rocks or building on sand? After all, what do you think would happen if a storm came? What if the wind picked up and it started to rain? And when the rain really comes down, the water rises. Which foundation would you rather build a house on? The rocks or the sand? You see, when the storms come, the house built on the rock will stay standing. As Jesus said, the rain comes down, the water rises, the winds blow, and they beat against that house. But it does not fall. It is built on the rock. But the house that's built on sand will crumble and fall. The rain comes down, the water rises, the winds blow and beat against that house, and it falls with a loud crash. The crowd was amazed by Jesus that day because he spoke with authority. When we hear Jesus' words and put them into practice, we'll be like the wise man in Jesus' message. Jesus made it clear that anyone who puts his teaching into practice builds their life on a foundation that will always stay solid, no matter what storms may come. And so here's what we need to do. Practice hearing from God. We can hear from God when we take the time to read the Bible and find the word that Jesus said, as well as the history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to make up God's big story. If we practice hearing from God, we'll grow stronger in our relationships with God, and then we'll be able to see how we can love God and love others every single day. So let's practice hearing from God this week, and we will see you next time.